tonight's topic, of course, is on letting go of the past. It is a topic that a really good friend of mine actually asked me to discuss, and of course, I know it is a hot topic. Excuse me, and I feel that it's really a good time as any to open this up and really expose the letting go of the past. So for all of you listening, I mean, if you're just joining us again, thank you for coming on. I always appreciate everybody coming on Monday nights. But please mute your phones if you haven't done so already. So we're going to really get into this pretty hot and heavy. And some of the things that I'm going to mention to you guys, I mean, I've done a lot of study on this material regarding the past. I've personally done what I call mental house cleaning for several months straight, where that's all I was doing was focusing on releasing all the garbage that I had collected in my head for all this time I've been living on this planet. It can collect rather a large section of the brain, and you're not even going to really know it because you're plugging along with life, and you have no conscious clue that everything that you're remembering is, of course, embedded in the memory banks of your mind for you to reference later on at a time when you think it's going to feel necessary to pull that information out so you can compare it to the now present time of your life. So I'm going to start off with just a little story, and I think it's a very short little passage, and I want to share it with you guys. It's a great one. But it says 2 monks were on a pilgrimage, and one day they came to a deep river. At the end of the river, a young woman sat there weeping because she was afraid to cross the river without any help. So she begged the 2 monks to help her. And the younger monk turned his back. The members of their order, of course, were forbidden to touch a woman. But the older monk picked up the woman without a word and carried her across the river. He put her down on the far side and continued his journey. Now the younger monk came after him, scolding him and berating him for breaking his vows. He went on this way for a long time. Finally, at the end of the day, the older monk turned to the younger one, and he said, "I only carried her across the river. You've been carrying her all year long." Now, what does this story really mean? I mean, he physically carried her across the river, but the other monk was carrying this burden in his mind for over a year.
Hello?
So most everybody that knows the things that I practice and preach are everything starts and ends in the mind. And if you're just joining us, please mute your phones. Thank you so much. Everybody knows that I'm a big advocate of things starting and ending in the mind. And obviously the memory banks that we have, there's over 85 billion neurons firing in the brain at all times. And literally the memory banks that we have are never ending. But we really have to focus on releasing a lot of this garbage that infiltrates our mind, because if we don't, and we end up bringing it to the surface in our future lives, and we use it kind of as arsenal. And of course, there's a lot of innocent bystanders that really get on the receiving end of that arsenal that we actually probably wouldn't even refer to as arsenal. So there's another analogy that I want to share. This is a really good one. And there was a priest actually that was talking about this. And he said that there was once a time that Alcatraz, which was the famous prison in San Francisco, was the most famous prison of all. It housed the most dangerous criminals. There were guards with guns, and this place was in the middle, of course, shark-infested waters. The story of how difficult it would be to escape was told over and over to all the prisoners. And then there was another prison spoken about. And this prison has no cell or walls. There's no prison guards. It was accessible to leave at free will. And the prisoners were even encouraged to leave at any time. And that prison is your mind. That's our mind. You're free to go and release your mind at any time. But most people live in a prison and they don't even know they're there. So you have to be consciously aware of who you are. That's why I'm really a huge advocate on analyzing your thoughts. Really, where are you at? What kind of positive notes are you floating around in your head? Because the top psychologists say, the statistics are that 70% of our thoughts are negative. 30% are positive. Not a good formula to actually get to where we want to be. And it is the past that most of us live in. And we want to let that go. There's things that you can do to fast track to let that go. Now, will you ever be ready to release everything in your mind? Well, I mean, your mind's so dynamic, I doubt it. But the more you focus on what you do want, the more you focus on your positives and the love that you have within you, then you most certainly cannot focus on those evil thoughts that you have in your mind that you've had once before that can come out easily just by the flick of a switch. Now, everybody has a past. Everybody listening here tonight has a past, and they've been haunted by it. They've had to bring it to the surface at many times, whether it be a relationship, whether it be at work, whether you have an altercation with somebody on the street. It doesn't really matter. Now, Tony Robbins says everybody's got a past. The past doesn't equal the future unless you live in there. That's so true. Well, there's a saying about the past. Perhaps maybe you've heard this statement before. And it's a pretty famous one. They say the past is good to learn from, but not to live in. And with that statement, I don't agree with that at all, because my take on it is that what you're doing is you're taking your past and you're polishing it up and you're bringing it into your future days for you to reference back to how to live your life now. And perhaps you wouldn't do something again because you did it in the past and it didn't work. But that next time around, that was the time you were supposed to do it again. You see, so it's so easy and quick to mark something or to judge it based upon our past. Everybody has that past, and we really sometimes don't mean to bring it out, of course. It just comes out, whether it be anger, I had marked resentment, anger, distrust, dishonesty, infidelity. I mean, relationships are the biggest component of the past, I think, because, we are procreators. We are here to evolve. But the greatest power that we have is our mind. And your subconscious mind, which controls 95% of your body, is the one that actually holds on to that memory, and it matches up the past from the present. For instance, if you have an experience in your life that has any emotional significance, it gets tagged in your brain as being important. So when that emotional experience is tragic, it'll trigger your brain's fear mechanism, which is the fight or flight, and it tells your brain to remain on the lookout for any future conditions that vaguely remind you of this tragic experience. Of course, it does to protect you from any future harm. That's that survival instinct that we have. Now, your brain then tries to match new experiences with the original one. You see, depending on how emotionally attached you are to the original experience, it can lead to false pattern matches, which will inevitably lead you to astray. It will lead you to astray. You'll get mixed match conditions. And that's why it's so important to know that when you wake up every single day, it's a blank piece of paper. It is a white piece of paper. You can write on it whatever the hell you want to write on it. You can become anything you want to be. But most will take that past. They will bring it into the future. And they will give it a shot to see what they can do to make up their past to bring it into the future. Now, for instance, on this bringing the past into the future, if you had somebody assault you, and let's say it's a big muscular guy, from now on in your future, you're going to have a hard time trusting any kind of muscular guy. Whether you be at a party, whether you be at a friend's house, someone that's a close friend of your friends, you're going to have a hard time trusting that person because of your experience that you had in the past. Now, if you've ever been in a relationship in your past and you've been cheated on, now I can personally say, with honesty here, that it's happened to me more than once. Not the greatest feeling in the world. It's one of the worst feelings in the world. And that's the same exact experience, because whether or not you catch somebody red-handed or you find out, when the person admits it, or even if they don't, you just know it's to be true. How do you expect to trust anybody in the future of your life when you get into that next relationship? Are you taking your past of that person cheated on me and then I'm going to bring that notion of perhaps this person is going to cheat on me in this new relationship? Is that what your mind is thinking about as you develop this new relationship? You know, they say trust has to be earned. That is true in many people's lives, but it gets handicapped to a huge degree based upon past experiences of past relationships. And if we don't release that past, there is no possible way that we can wake up every day and live life like it's a blank piece of paper. I know it's difficult to do because we really rely on our past experiences for our future days. You know, I mean, if you've gotten bit by a dog, you're going to probably have a fear of dogs, or you're going to at least really be more cautious when you're around one. That's our survival instinct. That's how we were born. That's how our mind works. But the emotions really get clogged up with a lot of clutter and garbage, especially in relationships. I'm sure most of you here tonight listening is here probably based upon relationships, a past relationship. Maybe it's a family member that, you know, totally screwed you over. Maybe it was somebody, a real close friend that borrowed some money and didn't pay it back to you. Or maybe it's somebody that just turned their back on you when they needed them the most. And maybe you're that person where you just have a heart, you can't let go. You can forgive, but you can't let go of it. As they say, you know, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. Well, most people that say they're never going to forget, that's right, they're not going to forget it. They're going to bring that vision into their future. And some unlucky person is going to pay the consequences of the feeling that you bring into the future from your past. That's the way it works. Because remember that we are spiritual beings in a physical body. You are an electrical source of energy, and you are a channeler of that energy. So when you think of something, it has to not only store itself in your mind, create some cells in the mind and store itself there, but it has to express itself. And, you know, I mean, some people I know, they have a bad temper, and it only comes out at certain times. They're not like that all the time. But, you know, you press their buttons, and it comes right out because you're triggering something of the emotions. And, of course, their pattern, their what I call the path of least resistance, or their programmed habits, it comes out when you press their buttons. That's what they're conditioned to do. So it's very, very important, as you can see, we want to release this garbage that's cluttering our minds, because I tell you, it has burdened my life personally for the majority of the time I've been here on this planet. It has burdened my life because I've really looked back on my past so much and tried to develop my future off of it. Maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you can relate to the fact that your past has a lot of garbage in it, and you're not willing to let it go because you feel that you shouldn't need to let it go. It's a reference point in your past, and you need it to make up who you are. I'm here to show you a different way. I'm suggesting and considering things to you to take into consideration. I'm asking you to look at it from a different viewpoint, from the mind's viewpoint, not from the ego's viewpoint, because that's really what this is about. When you harbor and you hold on to things such as anger, resentment towards others, that's the ego. The ego wants to hold on to it. And the ego is not even you. That's the irony in this, the ego is not even you. It's not even the real you. The person that screams and yells maybe or has that anger or resentment, that's not even the real you. You see, the universe doesn't have anger or resentment. You don't see blades of grass fighting. You don't see trees yelling at each other or holding grudges. You don't see birds doing that. You don't see the animals doing that. They just are. They don't have to. There's no effort at all. It just is. But because we have this intellectual mind, we have control over that. Or do we? Do we have control over our minds? You have to ask yourself, what specific past experience and associated feelings do my current feelings remind me of? You got to dig down deep and be really honest with yourself. And I say part of being authentic in your life, which is whole and complete, is admitting that you have these tendencies to think this way, admitting that you have these habits that you're programmed to relinquish to people. part of being authentic is admitting some of these things that you have. Now, once you've determined the origin, please mute your phone if you don't mind. Thank you. If you just joined us. So really, you need to peel back the onion. We need to peel back the onion to find out what's causing this feeling that we will not let go. What is it? Because I tell you, most people that I've been talking to with the relationship problems, they're trying to treat the effect. There's a cause and there's an effect, and they're trying to treat the effect. They're trying to figure out, how can I make myself feel better, and they go after this effect. And they're not reaching back to the cause. They're not peeling back the onion of the cause. What's really causing the problem of why I'm feeling this way? What is really causing the problem? What's the emotions? It's what's something you're holding on to that you will not allow to release from your body, from your mind. Now, there's certain things that you can, certain exercises you can do. You can go into a meditative state. You can release it just by stating something. There's many things that you can do. I'm going to go over those in a little bit. The one thing I wanted to really hit home on here is, especially about the relationships, it just seems like, our divorce rates at sky-high numbers. People really have no respect on relationships anymore, it seems like. And I know there's going to be exceptions, so I'm not pointing the finger and saying any of you listening tonight are in this category. I'm just going off of what I've seen in the general masses out there. And that's really why why this planet is just so corrupted, because people really don't let go of the past, and they want to just move on. Something's too difficult, they just move on rather than working through it. And normally, of course, if something's wrong, it's going to be wrong with us. And one of the things that I really see is people jumping into a relationship immediately without fully letting go of the other one that they just got out of, or I would refer to as a rebound relationship. Now, I can speak from experience, so I'm not just saying this from what I've researched. I've actually been in a position where I've been in what I call a rebounder relationship. I had a really bad breakup in my past, and it was, emotional. It was a long relationship. It was over 4 years. It was one of the toughest things I've ever gone through in my life. It was grueling. And as much as I knew I had to let go, I didn't want to let go. Why would we say, what is the reason why we don't want to let go? Our relationship is a nightmare. Swearing up and down, you're just fighting cats and dogs, you don't get along. It's really at its ending point, and you're struggling, you're doing all you can to fight for that relationship. Well, it's because, you want love. We all want to be in love. You're afraid of the other side. What could happen to my life if I let go of this relationship? So it's a matter of comfort. It's a habit. It's a programmed habit. You've been dealing with it for such a long time. You'll tolerate it for a very long time. People do it all the time. But then they finally let go, and that's what I did. I finally let go of that relationship. And the next relationship I got into was the worst one I ever had in my life, because I mentally was not ready to let go of the garbage that I had in my head from my last one. So what did I do? I carried it over into the new one, and the unsuspecting victim ended up feeling the wrath of my rebound. I was not even mentally ready to move forward. But I didn't care. I didn't have the know-how of the laws. I didn't know that I was an electrical being, a spiritual being. I didn't know that my mind controlled my body. I really didn't know that. I really didn't know I was holding on to anything. But I say, there's a lot of power in knowing this stuff, but there's a lot more power in doing this stuff, applying it. And that's, if you're in a position right now where, you just got out of a relationship, and you've got to let go of that. You've got to let go of those feelings. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you don't let go of those feelings, you're going to carry them on through into the next relationship. If you just sweep them under the rug and expect them to go away on their own, you're only fooling yourself, because they're going to emerge again, and they're going to emerge into the unsuspecting person that you end up getting into a relationship with. And I really say it's not really fair to that person, because, they don't want anything about your past. Yeah, everybody's got a past, but as far as your past relationships, no one wants a piece of that. But what do we do in our relationships in the past? I mean, literally, I'm going to use the number of, let's say you've been in 5 relationships in your entire life. I mean, I say if you map this out and you draw it down on a dry erase board from you starting your first relationship and you walk through to number 5, you've taken a little bit of each relationship into the next one. So you go from 1 into 2. So you have relationship 2, and then you have number 1 in parentheses. And then you go from 2 to 3. Now you have relationship 3 with number 2 and number 1 in parentheses. And that's what we do. And what does that mean? That means that we mentally do not let go of everything that's holding us back from the older relationships. Because who out there right now can say they've been in a breakup? I mean, they're possible for sure. There's plenty of people out there that have been in breakups that are clean and smooth and they just walk away. But it's still, there's still a lot of bitterness, and you're angry, and you have this void of love now, and you may hold that against the person, and you may not even realize that you're even doing it because it's subconsciously. Now, again, the subconscious mind controls 95% of the body. You don't even have to know you're doing it. I gave the analogy earlier about a big muscular guy attacking you. Well, every time you see a big muscular guy, you're not going to forget. You're automatically going to avoid that person. You may not even realize it. Your subconscious mind realizes it. And it's holding you back in your life. It's holding you back. It's holding me back. All this past that we have is holding us back because we're not allowing it to release and go out from our minds and replacing it with the new thoughts that are really going to be conducive to where we need to be. So, I mean, if you line up your relationships, I mean, I encourage you, I challenge you to do it. Really sit down with a piece of paper and write out your relationships and see what kind of personality, what have you done in bringing your old into the new relationships. It's so exciting to get into a relationship with somebody when you meet for the first time. But it's really bad when you start to bring out characteristical traits that you never had before into the new relationship. It's kind of, I mean, in my opinion, it's kind of embarrassing. I mean, my personal past relationship, and maybe you guys can relate to this, but the long one that I was in, that was a nightmare to get out of. I ended up becoming somebody I'm not proud to say I was. I wasn't Logan. And I took that into my new relationship, and it was a nightmare relationship, as I said, but literally it was not me acting. It was my subconscious, it was my programmed mind acting, because I wasn't consciously present on working on releasing things. And that's really what I want to share with all of you tonight. You literally have a purpose of releasing the past. And it's not just a matter of, okay, I'm listening to Logan, and yeah, that makes sense, and yeah, I want to release the past. How do I do it? Well, I mean, like I said, there's certain exercises. I'm going to go through those a little bit later, but realistically, you've got to make the decision that you want to do that. And some of it may not be comfortable for you, because some of this releasing of the past, I mean, when I say releasing the past, I'm saying is when I did my releasing of my past, I released everything. Literally, I thought of everybody that I could have been mad at or holding any kind of resentment, no matter how high or intense it was, or how low or not intense it was, I still did my ways of releasing and let it go, because I wanted to make 100% sure that I was not going to hold on to any garbage that was going to hold me back from making myself stay at the level I was at. I want to grow. I want to evolve. And that's why you are here. You are here because you want to grow and you want to evolve. You want to become a better person. As you become a better person, your life just becomes greater. We all know that. That's a very simple, common thing to know. But if we don't release it, it's going to end up surfacing. And as I said, many sweep it under the rug. We've all swept it under the rug, and we don't intentionally want to do it. You just abandon that idea. Oh, I'm not going to worry about that. That was in my past. That was with Michelle, so I don't have to worry about that. I got a new girl now, and she's not Michelle, so I don't have to worry about it. Well, you do, because you're going to take that past with Michelle and you're going to bring it into the future if you don't work on releasing it. Just because it's not Michelle and you have a new girl or you have a new guy does not mean that you are immune to carrying that past into your future. You have to be consciously aware that there is a possibility that you could bring that past into the future. A very good chance. Because we're imperfect, number one. Number two, we're a product of our environment. And number three, we have habits and customs that we are born from. The makeup of the human being is from three things: environment, customs, and habits. There's intangibles in there, but that is us. Environment, customs, and habits. And the programmed self that you've become, the programmed machine that you are, will react pretty much all the time a certain way, unless you're consciously aware that you're doing that. And bringing the past from relationships or harboring anger or resentment towards somebody else, even if it's somebody you can't stand, I can't even tell you the power that you engross in your life by forgiving that person. I mean, even going out. I mean, you want to really conquer your life. I mean, literally, what about making a phone call to somebody who you would never be caught dead making a phone call to? And your ego is gonna say, I'm not gonna call that person. That person's a jerk. They owe me. They stabbed me in the back. But how many people actually take the initiative to press forward and to call that person to release what's holding them back? What is it going to take for you to say, I'm going to be the bigger person, I'm going to make the phone call. I'm going to call Aunt Mary. I'm going to call Uncle Bill, or I'm going to call Christine, or whatever it is you got to do to release the past, because they're probably not going to do it. You're here because you want to make a difference in your life. I'm here presenting this information because I want to make a difference in my life. I want to make a difference in your life, and we all make a difference. It makes the world a better place. But no one's going to do it for us. Listening to this information that I'm asking you to consider doesn't mean a damn thing if you don't put out there and you use it as practical application in your life. If you just forget about tonight's session and you don't actually try to apply anything, it was meaningless. This hour of jibber-jabber, if you will, is a meaningless time for you if you don't actually go out there and try to apply some certain things. Truly, truly. So this is huge, because this kind of goes into, part of my analogy that I usually talk about is about being in love. And I mean, realistically, we have it. I think people really have it backwards in life, and it's because of their past. It's because they won't let go of the past. And it's really when we all get into love, when you really fall into love, because when we bring the past into the future, into our future relationships, and we actually let it rear its ugly head, and we become somebody who we like, sometimes we're like, I'm sorry, that wasn't me. How many of you have said that? I'm sorry, my actions, that just wasn't me. I don't know what came out of me. I can't believe I said that. I don't say that kind of stuff. I don't get angry like that. I don't know where that came from. I am so sorry. How many of you can actually relate to that? Literally, I think everybody can admit that they've been in that position, or at least heard it or been around it, so they can relate to that. It's so commonplace to hear or be involved in a situation like that. And when you're in that huge argument with that person, and you're this person who you really are not, this fake person, this alter ego that you're not, and you're presenting it to the other person. And that person says, after you calm down, that person's like, you showed your true colors. You're not the same person I thought you were when I met a long time ago. Da-da-da-da-da-da. How many of you have heard that? And I think it's interesting to know that, I believe that it's the complete opposite. It's the complete opposite. And I'm going to tell you why. Consider that it really isn't the true colors of the person. It's something fake. It's something that is not you. The true colors that you're showing, or we say that we're showing, are not really us. Again, you're just saying, I'm sorry, it was not me. I don't know what I was saying. I didn't mean to say that. You're absolutely right. You didn't. It's a built program from your past. Because we're machines, literally. Your emotions we have are like buttons. That's why they say, I know how to push your buttons. Yeah, you do. You know how to make me mad. You know how to push my buttons. So when you fall in love and life is vicariously great, and you're walking on sunshine, and you're, galloping down the hallway, you're bumping into people and making jokes and laughing and having a great time, and you're taking 5 hours to get ready to go on a date, where it only takes you 30. You're doing things that are completely uncharacteristic like of yourself. That's truly being in love. I think most of us have been there. That's your true self. That's the real you. That is the real you. That's the real other person that you're in love with. When the sparks fly, when you're kissing and when you're intimate, it's just amazing, and you're melting in the bed. And I mean, that's the real you. What happens? You start to dig into the past. And then that true colors, when they say, you showed your true colors. No, it's not my true colors, actually. I say that the true colors are when you're in love. So we take the past and we bring it into the future. And we muddy the waters so badly because we hold on to anger, we hold on to resentment. We do a lot of things that we really don't mean to do. We don't mean to do it. We do not mean to do the things that we do. We just do it. That's part of being a human being, part of being inauthentic. There's power in that, though. There's true power in that, because I know it's ugly sometimes, but if you're willing to get past that horror show and to know that really, your true colors are not even you. It's your past, your programmed self, the garbage that you've been subjected to your whole life, the experiences that you've shared with other people your whole life. That's the false selling that you've been giving everybody. I often say the people I meet, it's not even really the people I meet. It's like it's a show. It's a false show. You only really meet the people that you really want to meet when they're in a heightened state of consciousness, when their mind is healthy. And you can only become healthy-minded when you release the garbage that you're holding on to. And as we know, if you all are here, you know that I'm huge on the law of attraction. I won't get into that tonight, but I tell you, like attracts like. That's why they say birds of a feather flock together. You cannot attract what you really want. You can only attract what you are. That's right. We don't get what we want. We get what we are. Who are you? What is the makeup of your personality? Is it a mock version of your past? 5, 6, 7 relationships, 2 relationships, whatever the case may be? Are you taking that anger and resentment and bringing it into the new relationship? Maybe it's at work. Maybe you have a coworker that looks like your old boss, and you don't even realize it, that you're subconsciously treating the guy like dirt because he has the same look as your old boss who really screwed you over. And guess what? Your subconscious mind doesn't want to let that go. And you don't even realize that you're actually treating the guy like dirt. You're just like, I don't know why I can't be nice to that person. That's what you're thinking in your head. I've been there. I know. And this stuff all makes sense once you pattern it out and you figure out the formula. It's truly, I'm not going to say it's epic, but it's pretty amazing when you see what the subconscious mind does without you even knowing it. And it's all based upon your past. Like I said, you have a coworker at work and he looks like your old boss and you start treating him like dirt. You can't treat him nice. Maybe you've done that before, or maybe you just slip up and say things you're not supposed to say or you don't want to say, but you do it. Take a deeper look. There's the cause and there's the effect. What's causing you to act that way? It's your past, guaranteed. Because when you wake up in the morning time, I strive every day to live like a white piece of paper when I wake up. Doesn't matter what I did yesterday. There's a great saying, what you did yesterday, you paid for. What you do today, you decide upon. Beautiful quote. Beautiful quote. That's karma. But it's also, the karma that we experience really is based upon past things that we have, holding on to. Because, we all can say, oh, I'm such a good person, and I live my life so good, and I treat people this and that. And then you see, I see bad things happening to good people, and, it's not a coincidence. Things don't just happen. The laws of the universe are perfect. They don't make errors. So if something in your life is not going good, it's something from the past that you're carrying into the future. Something you're doing or thinking, not even have to do it. You can just think it, because thoughts are things. They create energy. That's where everything starts. in the mind. But you don't even have to be doing anything. You can be thinking something. No one's going to know what you're thinking. So you can be pretending you're this great person, but if you're thinking bad thoughts based upon your past, and you're not telling anybody, they're going to have to play itself out. They have to go somewhere. As I mentioned to you, all of you last week, I say it all the time, but you're a channel of energy and you're an expression of energy. You take on energy and you give energy off. So you can go to charities, you can give your time to orphanage. You can be a super great person on the physical level, but if your thoughts aren't in conducive measures with how great you are presenting yourself, something's going to break. That levee's going to break. So that's why it's so important to let go of the past, not even give tribute to it anymore, because it isn't who you are anymore. What you did yesterday, you paid for. You paid for it already. Maybe not today, but you're going to pay for it. And even the thoughts that we have, good or bad, you're going to pay for them. You'll pay for them. You will. It may not come exactly in the manner that you think it's going to come in, but it's going to come. It's going to come. And that's why we're all here. We want to be in positive mindsets, of course. We want to be as loving and caring towards people as we can. But, that's the physical ways, but the mental ways that's where it starts at. So if you're holding on to a bunch of junk in your past, and we all do, myself included, I'm not immune to it. We have to analyze our thoughts. We have to dig really down deep in our minds and give it some thought. You actually have to. You really have to exercise the mind. And if I've asked this before. How many of you listening tonight? How many of you really, truly can say that you exercise your mind? I'm not talking about being nice to somebody. I'm not talking about going and doing things for charity. I'm not talking about, thinking about how great your job is, or, I'm thinking about my parents, or that's not exercising your mind. When I say exercising your mind, it does include releasing the past. Because in order to take on the energy that you want, which is you want to evolve into a prosperous and abundant, loving person. All of you here, that's what you want. Well, in order to do that, we need to be healthy-minded. And in order to be healthy-minded, we have to release the crap that we hold on to. And that really takes a conscious effort. You literally have to say, okay, 10 minutes a day, I'm going to think about what I need to release. Maybe you want to write letters to somebody. Maybe you want to call them on the phone, send emails. Whatever you have to do to take that next step to release, that's going to tell the universe. It's going to tell if you're into theology. I believe in God, and if that's like telling God, hey, I'm a good person, and I want to release all this garbage. I want to forgive the people, even if they did you wrong. You still release it and you let them go, because it may not feel good in the beginning. I know. I can tell you from experience. Now, I've had some pretty bad experiences in my past where I could really harbor some anger and resentment, and I did for a numerous amount of years. And it was a huge burden lifted off my shoulders when I was able to release that. And then it didn't bother me anymore. I just let it go. My ego did not want to let it go. For some reason, to really give that energy is in itself is giving your power away. To try to fight that, as Werner Erhard said, he says, to get out of the trap is the trap. That's pretty powerful right there, because we fight. Whatever you resist persists. We fight so much to change things, but we end up treating the effect, not the cause. And the cause in this case, tonight's episode, is to release the garbage in your mind that's infiltrated your life right now. Right now. And, the buck's got to stop. You got to make a decision on what you want to do in your life. It's not a matter of just thinking positive. That, of course, we want to think positive. And we want to have our mindsets on a positive notion as much as possible. We want to be loving and caring and nurturing and giving and all the good things that fall into that love category. Because then we leave no room for negativity and grievance and resentment and anger and anxiety and fear and all that. We don't leave any room for that. Mind can only think one thing at one time. Can't think good and bad thoughts at the same time. It's impossible. So if you're thinking bad stuff about your past, if you're bringing that past into the future to plan your future because you don't want to make the same mistake twice, you got it all wrong. The universe, again, just is. Everything that God's made just is. There's no effort on nature's part. When it rains, there's no resistance. When the sun shines, there's no resistance. We are the only things that create resistance in our world. We create it by our thoughts, and we create it based upon our path of least resistance. Or the path of least resistance that we carry is the path of our programmed habits. The environment, the habits, and the customs that has made up our lives is literally infiltrated our society to where things today are so acceptable, and we wonder why our world is just full of fear, full of anger, full of hate, selfishness, because people rely on that to survive these days. You know, I mean, how about in relationships when, as you know, Werner Erhard says, he says that, you know, I'll bet that people will sacrifice love just to be right. You will sacrifice your relationship's love just to be right, just to prove the other person wrong. You'll turn into this monster, and then you'll apologize for it later. I'm sorry, that wasn't me. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't mean to say that. But at that time, you'll sacrifice your love just so you can be right, and it's based upon your past. Something in your past you're not letting go. Maybe you have this issue of you need to always be right. I know that I work on that condition personally, and it's not an easy one to let go of. So I know, like, when it starts to rear its ugly head, I have a choice. I can either follow my path of least resistance, which is let it come out and start to try to prove the other person wrong, or I can nip it in the bud and know that it's coming, and my cue is to, nope, I'm not letting that happen because I'm in control of my mind. That's why it's so important to heavily exercise your mind every day. I'm not talking 5 minutes. I'm literally talking, I encourage people that I coach to at least exercise the mind for an hour and a half a day. Now, at first, you're like, that's a lot of time. Well, if you're up for 12 hours, not really. And really the most important thing that we could do is to exercise the mind. Because, again, everything starts in the mind. The car you're driving, you had to think about what kind of car you wanted to buy, and that's the one you came to the conclusion of buying. The cell phone you're talking on, you went shopping, you picked it out, but you had to think about, I want to get a new cell phone. I want to change carriers. So everything starts and ends in the mind, and that includes the way we treat people. But most of the time, because we're so programmed, we don't even give it any thought. We just explode, or we just don't trust because she cheated on me, and I'm not going to trust anymore. Or, I'm not going to bring that person there because this happened last time. It's like the old analogy of, you go to a restaurant, you have steak, and it's a bad piece of steak. You don't stop eating steak. Go somewhere else to another restaurant, try it out. Now, that may be a little far-fetched from a relationship, but realistically, it's not fair for us to bring our past, our garbage, and bring it into the future, the anger and resentment we hold on to and harbor, and it doesn't have any conducive measures to our growth. It just holds us back. It clips our wings. It ends up destroying our minds because we're too damn busy focusing on the garbage of our past, which has nothing to do with our future. That's the kind of the irony in it, if you want to call it that. It has absolutely nothing to do with our future or right now, the past. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If you're looking for a relationship right now, if you're single and you're looking for a relationship right now, there's some amazing things that I can tell you to consider and I can suggest. If you're in a relationship right now and you want to make that relationship better, there's some amazing things that you can do. It's really a formula that is in general terms, it works for every person. There is no discrepancies in this when it comes to this formulation. It's something that will work for anybody. And it's just a matter of exercising the mind. Now, there's individualized plans now with what I have. If I'm doing a one-on-one, I have my methodology. I go really in depth on things, but literally for everybody, there's a general consensus of what to do as far as exercising the mind. If you have problems in your life, which I know you must have because you're here to evolve and become better, then, how much time are you exercising the mind? And when I say exercising the mind, because now it's going to kind of get into the tail end of this. We've talked all about all these issues that we have and harboring the past. How do we get rid of them? Well, what are some of the things that we can do to get rid of the garbage that we don't want to hang on to anymore? Sweeping them under the rug, that's no good. That ain't going to work. It's going to come back out again. When you're most vulnerable, when do you get angry? If you're not somebody who gets angry, you're going to be most vulnerable when, your buttons get pushed? Or maybe you're hungover, maybe you're really tired that day. Maybe you had a bad day at work, and it was a perfect environment for you to blow up and get angry, what you normally don't do. Right? Now, of course, those are intangibles that play a role in it, but the past is everything. So how do we fix this problem? Whether you're in a relationship or trying to get in one, whether you're seeking a soulmate or just want to start dating, or maybe you want to get a new job, but something's holding you back. Just can't seem to find that edge. Well, it's your past. Something's holding on, and you don't want to let go. Like difficulties, disharmony, discord. Are any of you feeling that? Do you have anything negative that's happening in your life? When we have these signs in our life, there's two reasons. Number one, you're either refusing to let go of what you no longer need, or you're not allowing what you need to come in. But you got to make room for it. If you really want love in your life, if you really want to find a soulmate, my suggestion is you write down all the qualities of the person you want to be with on the mental aspect and the physical. And if you can't check that list off yourself and be exactly that person, you might as well kiss that goodbye. It's not going to happen. You may think it's going to happen when you meet that person. Oh, yeah, it feels great when you first meet somebody. It's all lovey-dovey, and that's that true state of yourself. But when really this dust settles, that's really where it's going to stand up to the test of time. You need to be somebody to release that garbage that's holding on. It's holding on. It doesn't want to let go. But you have to pay constant attention to that. You got to look for cues. Now, I was talking about a formula, how to fix all this stuff, how to release this past. What are some of the fast-track ways? Well, I'm a big believer in verbal affirmations or even mental affirmations. Now, many of you may have tried them. Now, if you're saying that they don't work, Logan, affirmations don't work. I've heard this before. I've heard some really great leaders say affirmations don't work. Really, ignorance is really what makes us incorrect, really, because there's plenty of case studies and, people out there from personal experiences, myself included, that I will say they work. They work. And it's based up, you're using the laws of the universe, which, by the way, is perfect. There is no breaks in it. There's no infections or viruses in the law of attraction. It works. The laws of the universe are perfect. There's no flaws. So if something's not right in your life, there's something not right in my life, I don't go blaming Mother Nature. I don't blame God for it. It's me that's got the problem. Something I'm holding on to, or I'm not allowing to let go in my life to make room for the good that I really desire. And that's why analyzing the thoughts, really digging down deep inside of your mind, in your heart, what really makes you tick. And affirmations are what has made you who you are today. Because everything you've heard and said and repeated and read and visualized maybe and watched on the television, whatever you believed over and over and over again has become imprinted on your subconscious mind. And that is the makeup of you. But it had to have been done in a repetitive manner. Some things you believe right away, and until something knocks that king off the hill, it's going to stay embedded in your mind, and you'll fight for that belief. Survival, looking good, looking bad. You'll fight for that belief. But affirmations work because they work exactly that same way. You literally tell yourself something over and over and over again until the subconscious mind ends up embedding it over the top of whatever it is you want to get rid of. Because the subconscious mind, as we know, doesn't know right from wrong. That's the beautiful thing about the mind. The subconscious mind has no distinction between right and wrong. It just knows whatever you tell it. So if you say it's a bad person, Well, until you change your beliefs and really feel it within your heart and release the garbage that's holding on to that thought, it's going to stay embedded onto your mind. So affirmations are one powerful way to really get rid of the garbage that's holding you back. And, listen, one of the mental house cleaning aspects that I did when I was really focused on me is telling myself that I love myself. And it's another powerful measure, because I know a lot of people that just really don't love themselves. And what they end up doing is they end up blaming it on everybody else. Because if they're not in love with themselves, how can they love anybody else, really? So then they'll start to sabotage other people and environments because they're not happy. So, as they say, misery loves company. Well, that's just right there. It's perfect to fit in with that. We people that are miserable, of course, they want everybody to be miserable with them. So literally, you want to inject your life with love. That's really, if there was a trump card right now that I had to throw down, if we're at a card table and all of us are playing cards, there's one card that would beat every single hand, and that would be the love card, realistically. There's nothing that trumps love, nothing. Nothing. And like I said, you want to empower yourself, you want to really empower yourself, go make that phone call, call that person that you've been holding resentment or anger towards for years on end. And I will bet you that if you were sincere and loving and you injected that conversation with love, that person would be floored. And they would probably respond in a very loving manner back to you. Kill them with kindness, as they say. And that's just so much power, because you release the serotonin, and it's just this burden lifting off them. And it's just, finally, I just flushed that out of my head. And you move on to the next one. So injecting love into the life is the trump card. But you got to love yourself first. And that's part of the measures of this whole process, this whole formalization. If you want to get into a relationship, if you're in a relationship you're not happy with, or at work, or you're just holding on to things, and maybe you're mad at your cousin or whatever, it doesn't matter. Point is that you need to make the effort, and you need to take the initiative to make that phone call, to go see that person. And you're not going to want to. You're not going to want to. Your ego is going to fight it, and it's going to give you every reason not to. Logan's crazy. This topic was terrible. Whatever your little mind in the back of your head that never shuts up, whatever that's saying to you, you gotta tell it to be quiet or not listen to it. You got to go above and beyond that. And then when you do that, it tells your mind that you're in control. You're no longer the puppet. You're the puppeteer. You're the one who's in control. But as long as you hold on to the past, you're not in control. Your past is controlling you. You're just along for the ride. And how can you make positive motions in this world? How can you make a difference in your life and everybody else's life if you're harboring onto garbage of your past? Just one little piece of garbage can really make a mess of your life. It really, really can. It causes a lot of misery. So injecting love is it's the trump card. Realistically, do some I love you techniques. There's mirror work that you can do. There's an author out there her name's Louise Hay, and one of my favorites. I started with her when I started to do all this mind exercises, and she's been doing it. She's 84 or 85 right now. She's got a website called Hay House, amazing woman, on my list of people to meet. But she's got a lot of books out, and she's a pioneer in loving yourself and letting go of the past. And she's got a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And in that book, in the back, it has a whole section of diseases, sicknesses, and illnesses that we have that are all caused by the mental state of the mind. Resentment causes this, anger causes this, arthritis, it's like frozen hatred in your bones and joints. You turn your body acidic. From a nutritional aspect, you don't want to live in a state of acidosis. Well, if your mind is always anger and bitter and resentful towards people, I don't care how good you eat, man, your body's going to respond to the song of your mind, not to the food you feed it. You're going to be battling that. You're going to be going against the grain of what you're eating. You're wasting all that good food you're eating. So important. The mind is the most number one thing you can exercise, more so than the physical body. And everybody's got it backwards. Everybody goes to the gym and wants to look good in the mirror. They don't want to fix the mind. They want to just hope that everything works itself out. They'd rather look good and feel bad. Really true. So moving on, my next one is, visualization. And I have my own formulas with this. My coaching program that I do, I'm very big on visualization. And literally it's creating a movie in your mind. Of course, you're plotting out some times to do this during the day. But, you put some headphones on, you can listen to some certain kinds of music, and you can start to address a story in your mind. Maybe it's you see yourself releasing this garbage in your mind. Maybe it's forgiving the person that you need to forgive. And you actually picture it in your mind. You play this movie, like you literally see yourself going to the person's house and saying, hey, you know what, I love you, I'm sorry, I just want to bury the hatchet, because it's just best. And it just feels good, and you see yourself doing that. That's what visualization is. And to me, visualization is the creme de la creme, even though the love is the trump card, but visualization is the very top, the king of the hill as far as I'm concerned. Love is just smothered all over everything else. So we want to have that infiltrated in everything that we're doing, including the affirmations. When we exercise the mind, we really, really want to have all these things kind of wrapped up into one, but literally the love we want to have in everything. So the visualization, when we are doing that with somebody in our minds, we want to show as much love as possible. In the affirmations, we want to express as much love as we possibly can. And there's a lot of affirmations online. I have a lot of stuff I can email you if you're interested in some affirmations. But there's a slew of them. You just Google it. You're going to have stuff to your heart's content on affirmations. But it's very easy, and most people don't do it because they don't know how. So that's the coaching program I have. I'll show you how to do it. You want to make your life go forward really, really fast? I'll show you how. I promise you I will show you how. Because it's a one-on-one. You get a lot of one-on-one talk time. We really master the visualization, the affirmations. There's stuff you can do on your own, absolutely. And I encourage you to do it every single day. And the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. At first, you're going to stink. If you've never done this kind of stuff, you're going to want to quit. There's no gratification in the mind exercises. There's none. Nothing. Yeah, you can make yourself feel good. But, literally, I'm going to ask all of you, when's the last time something amazing has happened in your life? Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was last week. Maybe you got a big bonus. Maybe you landed the next role in a commercial. Maybe you just got a huge bonus check out of nowhere. Maybe you just got a new job. Maybe you just opened your own business and you got your business license. Maybe you just met the love of your life. Whatever. But that feeling that was associated with that huge event, can you actually say you can bottle that feeling up and take it into the future and open that bottle up and just expose it whenever you want to? And I say, if you can do that, my hat's off to you, but that's a tough one to do. Get into that emotional state anytime you want. Whether it was 2 weeks ago, I can 2 weeks, bam, I can open it up. And I can feel exactly that same way. That's power. That controls your life. That will run over all the garbage that's infiltrated your mind. Because you're paying tribute to that feeling. We want to feel good as much as we can. We want to feel satisfied as much as we can. And we do that in a two-step process. Number one, we focus on what we want. Number two, of course, we release the garbage that's infiltrating our minds. I don't know how deep yours is. I don't know how far down the chasms go, but we all have a lot of skeletons in the closet. They don't have to be bad ones, but a skeleton to me can be anything from a minor to a major role. And when you literally, I'm gonna digress and just end this here with, I encourage you to do this on a daily basis. This, exercising your mind. If you're going to the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week, and you're not exercising the mind, matching those numbers of how many hours you put into the gym to make your physical body look good, which, mind you, you're not going to take with you to the grave, I just encourage you to look at it from a perspective of what I'm suggesting here. That is, how much time can you put into exercising your mind? Because the more time you put into it, the faster you will be able to get to where you want to be. Because, again, this whole topic tonight was about releasing the garbage that's infiltrated your mind for so long. Maybe you have stuff from your childhood. Maybe you have stuff from just a relationship you had months ago. But, we all, I'm sure some of us can relate to just having closure on a relationship and how good that felt to have that final talk with the person you were with, and you just had to finally thank you for having the conversation, because I just had to get this off my chest. And, man, I was about ready. I just needed to tell you how I felt. And it just feels so good. And there's no more emotional burden left. So whether it's a family member, someone who double-crossed you, somebody that, made a mistake. Because I'm telling you, as I mentioned to you earlier, I believe that really there's no bad people in this world. I consider it being underdeveloped. And ignorance is the only thing that really makes us wrong. And education and knowledge makes us move forward in this game of life. The wise Solomon in the Bible, he was asked from God what he wanted. He had anything he wanted, and he asked for knowledge. Because with knowledge comes power. And ignorance is what holds us back from getting where we need to be. And holding on to the past is just pure ignorance. Because the only thing it's doing is breaking you down and keeping you from moving forward. And the more you try to fight it, you're going to continue to fix the effect of your life, which is the three-dimensional plane that we all live on. And that's not where it starts. Remember, there's a circuit that's connected. And that's from the heavens above, through the body, out onto the physical plane. That's the circuit that gets connected. And what makes that circuit run its course is your mind and the circulatory system through the body. And if you're thinking bad thoughts, if you're thinking resentment or anger or anything that's on the fear side, it has to express itself. And so it's so vitally important to not only think positive thoughts, we all know that, but to let go of the garbage from our past so it no longer haunts us. So I encourage you, make that phone call. Take the step to make that phone call. That person would never expect you to call them. And maybe it's say you're sorry, even if it's not your fault. Who cares? But you just released something. You did something, not only was it loving, which will pay its dividends because the universe really is all about love, but it will empower you because you will have done something that you probably never would have given any thought to doing. And there's a lot of power in that. A lot. There's a lot of power in that. So I thank you all for coming on tonight. It's been a pleasure on this topic. Please join me again next Monday. I don't have a title for the topic yet. And if you have any suggestions, feel free to email, text, or call me for a topic. I'll definitely take it into consideration. And once again, as you know, I'm open for coaching. I also do coaching at businesses where I come in and do a motivational session that, for a half hour, and pump everybody up. I love doing those. If you do indeed want to do some one-on-ones, if you really are having a hard time in life, or you really just can't get there, let me work with you and get you where you need to be. This is not a job for me, it's a passion. And that's the difference between myself and a lot of other people. I don't do this to make the money. I do this because I love helping people and I love seeing people succeed. That's what I get high off of. So in a selfish way, that's part of the reason why I do what I do, because I just love the way I feel when I do it. And it gets me high off of it. So it's my life's high. So if you have something that you really want to get in life, let's talk. I can do a free consultation and get you going. I mean, tonight is just one day. You got tomorrow, you got Wednesday, you got Thursday, you got Friday. And if you're not doing this every day, then, you're not taking full advantage of what life has to offer. Because remember, everything starts and ends in the mind. Everything. That includes you. And we want to release the past so we can make room for the good thoughts that we really, truly desire to have come into our lives. So thank you all for coming on, and I will see everybody next Monday, same time, 9 p.m. Pacific. Thank you, and good night.